Hello, and today we're doing an FPL review of Gameweek number 17. As you can see there, I scored a whopping 68 points, which meant I was 11 points better off than last week, and it was just lovely stuff really. We're going to go through each player and their performances. I of course took a -4 hit this week, and let's see how I got on with that. But it does mean my rank is currently 726k, which at the end of the day is solid. It's not amazing, but it's solid. Little steps can often be the way in fantasy, and this season has been probably the toughest I think anyone's had to do. So I think I'm making the best out of a bad situation, and at the end of the day, green arrows is what you want, and I got the green arrow, so we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But the main thing to say is that Alex McCarthy, what an absolute unfortunate one. I mean, nobody knew that he wasn't going to be playing, and he unfortunately did get a test in the household that was positive, so he had to self-isolate and therefore didn't play. So Fraser Forster comes in and by some miracle keeps a clean sheet against Liverpool. I mean, it's crazy. If McCarthy had played that game, would he have kept a clean sheet? Possibly. The way that Liverpool were playing, they just couldn't be broken down by Southampton. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I couldn't have known it, and a lot of people will be in the same boat this week. So, yeah, that kind of hurts. But at the end of the day, he was playing Liverpool anyway, so he might not have got much more than 0 points, other than maybe 2 or 3 for some save points. But, yeah, we'll move on from that. The main thing to talk about is this guy, Aaron Cresswell. What an absolute beast. I mean, he just is so attacking. And you could say there's a little bit of luck with the fact that he drilled it at the last minute, came off Mina, and then fell to Soucek. But it was his attacking fight and his attacking direct and very determined play that actually meant he was going to go for that shot. And sometimes when you do hit the ball that hard and you hit it with that sense of accuracy, you are going to get it in the right positions for forwards to finish the chance. So very nice instinctive stuff from Cresswell, and you always like an 11-pointer, but to get the clean sheet as well is really, really nice. 2 bonus points. I mean, that was just perfect. Then James Justin was far from perfect. I mean, it's a really frustrating one with James Justin this week because literally he was on for 3 bonus points in his game against Newcastle. It looked like the clean sheet was going to be there. He was getting really forward and attacking. Obviously, it would have been nice to actually have seen a concrete, attacking return. But I'll excuse Justin this week. I was thinking a clean sheet, but it's just so frustrating. So he goes and makes a challenge that's just not necessary at all. Pulls back a Newcastle player, gets a yellow card. You're thinking, all right, there's the bonus point gone, but can we at least have the clean sheet? And then they have the free kick. From the resulting free kick, Andy Carroll scores his first goal for 10 years to take away any bonus points and any clean sheet points. It's just so annoying. So, yeah, that's a really difficult one that I had to deal with this week, but it is what it is. Justin is still a good player to have, and on any day, he could have got a bonus. It just wasn't this week. Then Stuart Dallas, I mean, I played him against Spurs thinking there might be a chance of an attacking return. Fair play, there wasn't, but, he scored against Man United already this season, scored against Leicester, so he can do it. It's just this game, Leeds United were not as attacking as usual, and they didn't have as many opportunities, but that was just fair play to Tottenham, not a thing that Leeds did particularly wrong. They just worked out Tottenham, how Leeds were going to play, and they actually dealt with it very well, with goals on the break from Son. And talking of Son, what a legend, 13-pointer. Now, I'll admit, I probably should have captained him. But I just thought this week that it was going to be a bit random, which it was, to be fair. Salah blanking, Bamford, Calvert-Lewin blanking, a lot of people blanking. And I think the fact that this randomness of the season is frustrating a lot of people. So I kind of thought, let's push out the boat and captain Vardy. In hindsight, I should have captained Son. I was going to captain Son for so long before, in the lead up to this week. I was like, yeah, Spurs Leeds, that's going to be a game where you see lots of goals. But then last minute, I just thought, change strategy, because a lot of people would be captaining Son. And I wasn't wrong. He was one of the most captain players. But sometimes you should just not overcomplicate it and captain Son. and I didn't, but he still got the points for me. It's not like he wasn't in my team, so, we're very happy with that 13-pointer from Son Heung-min. The question now is, with that free hit coming up, whether I do that in week 20 or week 19 or even week 18, who knows? Do we have Son or do we have Kane or do we go without both? Who even knows? Because Spurs are pretty consistent this season and their last few games have been good. But before that, they went on a really, really poor run. So it's hard to know with Tottenham, but that was certainly a good game for Son. Then, of course, this man, Thomas Soucek. What a transfer in. That has to be, I think, one of my best transfers in for a single game week. I was literally just so frustrated with Jarrod Bowen. And I also was frustrated with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And he got subbed off for, I think it was it one of the other Everton players? But the point is, Calvert-Lewin blanked that I called it. That's why I brought in Vardy. But I also was frustrated with Bowen and he was not doing enough and he got subbed off. So basically, I got the balance perfect and Soucek scoring this week is just lovely, really. He's just a player that I think has that attacking potential when you compare it to Bowen. So he's going to be a player that's going to be really good to own in that double game week. And yeah, it was absolute scenes when he scored. This man is an absolute legend. So hopefully he can carry on his scoring run. And then Bruno Fernandes, I mean, Mr. Consistent. You just love to see it from him. He's just so good. And, penalty is just his bread and butter, really. You're not going to miss from that. So at the end of the day, he's a good player to have. And Man United are in good form. They're now joint top with Liverpool and only separated by goal difference. And if Man United can get that thumping win over Burnley, then that will give them confidence. And they do face, of course, Liverpool very, very soon. So that's going to be a massive game. But Bruno Fernandes is always at the heart of that Manchester United success. And then Mo Salah. Mo Salah, the Wally of the week, let's be honest. Liverpool just weren't really themselves at St Mary's. Southampton did a good defensive job. But Salah, frustrating one, because there was that header that he had with the cross in from Mane. And he kind of got a bit pushed off the ball from Bertrand. And that kind of distracted him. He couldn't get the header right at the end of the day. And Salah had a couple of half chances, I'd say, that he dragged wide. So, yeah, it's a real uncharted territory. We're not common for players like Salah to go on this kind of run because it's 3 now in a row for weeks that he's blanked, which, yeah, it is a bit of a shocker. But Liverpool are still one of the best teams in the league. Well, probably the best. Minor, take away this week. So, yeah, you've got to think Salah is still a good player to own. It's just frustrating when you don't get the consistency. But as I said, this season is so unpredictable, and from one week to the next, teams can be amazing and then terrible. And then Jack Grealish, what a absolute lad. I mean, I was holding him thinking, come on, you got to deliver eventually. And I said this was a big week for him against Man United. I needed him to do something to convince me that I wanted to keep him or maybe sell him. I really don't know what I'm going to do going forward, but still, an assist against Man United is lovely, and he still is a big game player, Jack Grealish. So, yeah, it's a very tempting one to keep him because he's a big part of that Aston Villa team, and he always seems to have that moment where he can just cut inside, provide an assist, or even get a late goal. But in terms of our forwards this week, Jamie Vardy, yeah, it's not ideal stuff, of course, to not get a goal from your captain, but you get an assist, so it's not the end of the world. At least he didn't blank, and, in a way, I'm kind of thinking, yes, I'd love to have captained Son. I was never really going to captain Salah, but I said it was between Son and Salah for the vice, and I just randomly went with Salah. Imagine the scenes, though, if I'd have gone with Son vice and then Vardy hadn't played. But, no, to be fair, Vardy was always going to play after he got rest against Palace. And the good thing about Vardy is he's always going into attacking positions. He's always the key part of that Leicester team, the way they play. And he, of course, did score in that game, but it was unluckily offside. So I'm not too disheartened about Vardy. He's still going to get in those positions, still going to get in those runs in behind. And he can score against anyone, can Jamie Vardy. Just, the assist this week was good, just maybe not quite enough. But obviously, if I'd have captained Son, that puts me on 26 for Son, which is lovely. But then captaining Vardy, you could argue, is almost just as good because it actually does bring him up to 10 points. Then you've got Fernandes, Son and Vardy all on double digits, where you wouldn't have had if you'd have captained one of Son or maybe Fernandes. But it was an interesting one this week because I saw a lot of people captain Fernandes, and there was one person in my league that triple captained Fernandes. So that's impressive stuff. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying about triple captains. It's got to be for a double game week. And Jamie Vardy is still a good player to own. So Patrick Bamford, obviously, I kind of had Son, so I had a feeling one of them would be sacrificed. And Leeds, as I said, they weren't quite themselves, but every week you can back Leeds to score, so I'm not too worried about this one week that it didn't work. And then my bench. Well, can I just say, I think my bench decisions this week were actually spot on. I mean, obviously, if I'd have had a bench goalie, that would have been nice to have come in for McCarthy, but McCarthy just stayed where he was because Matt Macy didn't play. But yeah, my decisions, because Trey Adams, I said in my FPL preview, I thought, yeah, off the back of that head problem with clashing with Craig Dawson, I thought he'd probably not be in the squad, he'd probably have concussion, and I got that bang on. A lot of people playing him, obviously, and if you had Soucek on the bench, then that's perfect for Soucek to come in, but of course I started Soucek, so that was fine. And yeah, I just made the right call with that. And to be fair, he was facing Liverpool, but if Trey Adams does score in that game, you're pretty gutted, but it's just it didn't work out that way. And I thought that Trey Adams was probably going to have less game time, especially because now Ings is back. So yeah, in hindsight, is that the best transfer that I made all the way back in like week 17 or whenever it was to get in Adams for this? Oh no, not week 17, sorry. I think it was week 15 to get him in for that double game week. Maybe not the best, but he can recover in time for game week 19. Southampton haven't got a game, so he could still bang easily in that double game week against Leeds, and I think he's got Leicester as well, which might not be too bad fixtures. And then Kurt Zouma, I'm glad I benched him because, you know, conceding 2 in the first 20 minutes, absolute nightmare for Chelsea. And Man City outclassed them, and Zouma was all right. He made a few decent blocks, but as I said, that Chelsea team is struggling a bit, so I think, yeah, obviously it's not ideal that Dallas and Justin also got 1 point, just like Zouma, but I think, to be fair, I could have easily got a big score with Justin with those bonus points that didn't unfortunately materialise, and with Dallas, he's always attacking. So I think this week it was the right decision to bench Zouma, and then of course we had Jimmy Dunn, who doesn't play, but he's just an absolute meme at this point. So yeah, that is my player-by-player review of the week, and as you can see here, in terms of my mini leagues, we've gone up in a few. We've stayed top of the most important one, though. You'll love to see it. And we've also had a lovely little green arrow, which is all we like, really. That's all we need. Now, the cup. Not the cup this week in terms of getting through. It's not ideal, but at the end of the day, is the cup important long term? No. It's kind of a bit of a Carabao Cup version of the Fantasy Premier League, so it's quite irrelevant. I mean, fair play at Andreas Volson. You had a pretty good week, but it was only 8 points better than me. And you were pretty much saved by having a backup goalie, whereas I didn't. And he had Martinez to come in. He also had a Bednarek 7-pointer, like fair play. And I was seeing that Nat Phillips wasn't playing and Aurier wasn't playing for Liverpool and Tottenham respectively, but unfortunately you had the players on the bench to back you up, and captaining Kane, like fair play, that was a great move. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one in week 18, and we will do an FPL preview for that, whether I do the double game week strategy and whether I do the free hit in game week 20 or game week 19, or I don't even know at this point, so I really need to work out my strategy. Maybe, I don't know, let's just work out. We could just not do a free hit and do a -4 and then work out what we're doing, but I will, of course, preview all of that.